Welcome to this map on changing your name. The rest of the course, How to Name Your Baby, that is also the best possible guide you'll ever have on how to come up with a new name for yourself. Either a new given name, first name, or a new surname. And by the way, I leave out middle names because I think most people who change their name aren't really fussed about a new middle name. But you can also look at the map on middle names as part of this series of maps. Now this is a very personal talk to me because I changed my name a long time ago, basically half a lifetime ago. And I think I should talk to you and share why I came to change my name. My original name was Gary Sargent, Gary Ross Sargent. I've done a lot of inner work processes, and I was at a 3-week retreat that was supposed to train you to become a professional breath worker. And I was having this breathing session, breathing, and I heard myself. I didn't have a conscious thought. I heard myself saying again and again, I'm not going to be Gary, I'm not going to carry the family, I'm not going to be Gary, I'm not going to carry the family, I'm not going to be Gary, I'm not going to carry the family, I'm not going to be Gary, I'm not going to carry the family. On and on. And to give you some idea, I was obviously the last child. My mother was 40. She'd had a previous child, my brother Bruce, born 4.5 years previously. It was her first child at the age of like 35 or something, and that was rare in those days. And he ended up, because of birth trauma, epileptic and with what is now called cerebral palsy, or it used to be called spasticity. So I was named by my father. Now my father was the most allergic person to responsibility I've ever met. And he came home one day apparently and suggested the name Gary, and on a different day he suggested the name Ross. And he would even call me sometimes Gary Cross Sargent. Carry the cross of the Sargent family, because he didn't want to. Now, right when I had that particular breathing session, to give you some idea, my mother had advanced Alzheimer's, my brother epileptic with cerebral palsy, and my father a few months previously had had a massive stroke and was paralyzed down one side of his body, the right side of his body, and couldn't talk. Now, you couldn't put that in a soap opera because the story editor would say, look, he's already got these other two people. You can't give the father a massive stroke as well. So right at that stage, I was carrying the family. So I thought, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. I will move on. I will continue to support my family and hopefully support them in supporting themselves as much as possible. But it's time for me to move on to a new energy. So I came to change my name to Ren Lexander. After I had that session, other people in this 3-week retreat started to have similar insights into their names. Like Alona went, oh my God, I was called Alona because my parents wanted me to be alone because they didn't want other children to have an influence on me, and I have felt alone a lot in my life. And she changed her name. I had another guy, Adrian, he's going, oh my God, my name associates with being a drain. And he changed his name to Adi, as in helpful, Aid-y. So there can be very, very good names, and there can be names that are very challenging and can need tweaking or indeed completely changing. Now, I'm going to give you some cautionary tales. The first thing you should do before you even start to consider your name is go to my website, namedecoding.com, and look up the possible decodings of your name. The first name decoding is free. And also with that, you'll get a form to fill out that actually has your parents' name, your siblings' names in order, etc. And that helps you to put your name in a sentence, as it were. Because I take the word bank, right? Oh, I know what bank means. I go to the bank and take out money. But what about a river bank where you go to fish? What about when you bank an aeroplane? So there can be very, very different associations with the word bank, and you have to see it in a sentence to really work out what it means. Similarly with names, there can be different possible decodings, and putting them in the context of the whole family can really help pinpoint what the particular decoding is. So the first step, go to namedecoding.com and get decodings of your names and your siblings' names and your parents' names and start to see the patterns. And get decodings of any names you might be considering changing to, because this is a very cautionary tale. People have come to me for guidance on finding a new name. But often, because of what's going into their subconscious and mind, the issues they have in there, they can be attracted to a name that's actually worse than the name they used to have. I had a very good friend, and her name was Maureen, and that has a possible decoding of moron and can reflect a sort of parental idea that girls tend to be dumb and maybe better off that way because smart asses don't get men, right? Anyway, she had this issue about people thinking she was not smart. She's actually quite bright. And anyway, she was attracted to the name Morana. Moron, even more of a moron. I pointed this out to her, and she actually ended up moving on to a very, very nice new name. She actually used the technique of syllable reversal. She liked to practice the hands-on technique of Reiki, and she took those syllables and reversed them and became Kira, and was really a great name for her. So I had other clients. Oh, Emtage, right? This was the Emtage family. So I said to this man, I said, do you often feel empty inside? Oh, do I ever? Oh my God, I can never fill up. I feel so empty inside. And he was attracted to the name Nathan, which can mean nothing. So he's going from empty to nothing. Even worse example, long story shortened. This woman, look, here's an interesting question. What do you think the most unconscionable thing you can do that's actually legal in most countries? Here's an idea. You sleep with and steal your best friend's spouse, husband or wife. And this is what this woman did. And of course, that didn't just cost her the friendship of her best friend. Other women were going, I'm staying away from this woman. She's prepared to steal her best friend's husband. I'm like, woohoo, going nowhere near her. And she was considering changing her name. And the names she was considering, she'd gone to one of these name sites, were Delilah and Luna. And she was in the process of pretty much having a nervous breakdown and couldn't afford to have one because she had 3 kids, one of which was a special needs child. So she was really on the edge of having a nervous breakdown. So these names, you can look them up on name decoding, but Delilah is like this woman in the Bible who betrays her lover and sells him out. She's like this very, very loose woman with terrible morals. And Luna can associate with lunatic, as in crazy. So this was like really being attracted to a name that, 2 names that taken together means like crazy, well, slut, I guess is one word for it. Come up with a word that's not quite so confronting, I guess. So this is the danger. The danger is, because of issues in your subconscious, you could be attracted to a name that's worse than the names you're considering. So you need to, when you have names you're considering, again, you need to go to namedecoding.com and get the decodings of the names you are considering. And the other thing to face is that a lot of people, they're not really in the headspace to change their names. Sometimes people would come to me and they would say, I've always disliked my name. I've never liked it. It's never suited me, etc., etc. And invariably, if we came up with a name and they go, oh, that's such a, oh, that's perfect, they would not change their name. They would never change their name. Why? Remember, I changed my name. It was like, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. This is one of the best reasons to change your name. You feel like you've fulfilled that name. You've explored that name all you can. It's like it's time to move on and get some name which supports you in going on a different journey. So for instance, my original surname was Sergeant, like non-commissioned officer in the army. My new surname, Lexander, associates with Alexander the Great, Generalissimo, top dog in the army, right? That's going from low to as high as you can get. So that became an aspirational name for me. Lexander, becoming a leader. So you really need to look at, am I moving on to this name where I've never explored its implications? You need to embrace the fact that we are all very complex. And say, for instance, you have a name that may associate with, being weak, being submissive. And you've always rebelled against them, going, I'm going to be so strong, I'll show them. Well, maybe you need to explore that idea of being more yielding and giving before you move on to another name. And the other thing that quite often happens, but it's not often, but certainly sometimes, is I would support this client in finding a new name. She'd go, oh, it's so beautiful. Oh my, this is really wonderful. But as soon as somebody said, oh, I really liked your old name, you went, oh, okay. And they don't change their name. So here's another cautionary tale. You can actually not lose friends, but friends can confront you with the name change. And it's like, I had one guy said, oh, I've always called you Gary. I'm always going to call you Gary. Ironically, after he left high school, he modified his name. He went from Rob to Bob, which is his father's name. So you need to be prepared to say, look, do you love me or do you love my name? Because this is where I'm going, and this is where I want to head in my life, towards this new name. And of course you can show them videos and take them to name decoding, send them to name decoding, etc., and explain why you wanted to have a new challenge in your life with a new name. In fact, if you look at my name and possible associations with it, Ren can associate with reborn, and as we've seen, Lexander with leader, so it was like newborn leader, and I'm still trying to become worthy of that. And these courses on how to name your baby and other maps for a more meaningful life are part of my journey to become worthy of the name Ren Lexander. So I obviously totally support you in moving on to a new name. And it's funny now, people sometimes ask me, well, what was your old name? And I say Gary, and they go, oh, no, there's no way you're any sort of Gary. Oh, my God. Right? So, and I had another friend I'd heard for a few years, and a few months after I changed my name, they were like, what was your old name again? So I support you really in moving on. And also sometimes with a sort of personal growth people, they would like in centres and retreats, they would like change their name every week. Oh, I want to be called this. Oh no, I want to be called that. Oh. So, but with me, it was always very clear. This is my new name. This is my new journey. And I hope that my course on how to name your baby, this course, this set of maps, I really hope it supports you in finding the best possible name to support you in your ongoing journey and growth in life.